Okay, we are going to start on chapter 4. I know we've gone through how to download the files a few times, but this is an example of a project where you have more than 2 files. But for this one, I'm actually not going to download the resources because it's actually just a copy of a picture we can get from our clip art. So I'm still only going to download the start file and then the instructions if you want to have them in front of you to print. So I just downloaded it. I'm going to click on my file. And it's going to ask me if I want to enable editing once it opens up. Okay, and so it should be called maximum heart rate. That's the document we're creating. So I'm going to click on enable editing. I'm actually going to close the navigation pane. It's still open because I was using it for chapter 3. And I'm going to save it. So I'm going to go to the file tab and I'm going to go to save as. I'm going to choose my documents and I'm going to click save so that I can come back to it later. And so now I'm on to step 3. In step 3 it says insert word art as the title and modify the word art. So what we're going to do is we're going to highlight this first line where it says American River Cycling Club. And now we're going to do some word art. Word art is all in the insert tab. So I think I talked about in class that all of the tabs are sort of named based on what you can find on that tab. And so insert is where we go to find any kind of elements we want to add into our document. Pictures, tables, text even, so like text boxes. And so in the section that says text, we have a button that says word art. And that just allows us to make our text into something like a picture. So we're going to click on word art and then we're going to go down to find the one that's titled Fill Red Accent 2 Outline Accent 1. And so it's a super long name, but if you highlight or hover your mouse over it, then it has the title. And so for our purposes, it's actually this third letter A, which is red. So we're going to click that and it kind of changes. So now our text, which was just a plain black bold font, has kind of turned into a more graphic element. And now this text box gets treated very much like a picture. So you can add backgrounds to it, you can change it and make it rotate, you can do all kinds of stuff to it when it's a word art versus just a text. And so in step 3D it says to change the shape width to 6.5. So whenever there is an object on your document that's active that has other tools, you'll see this extra tab show up. And so for pictures you get usually a format tab. And that allows you to do some stuff to the pictures. So on the far right hand side of that tab it has the measurement. So we can either use the arrows on the corners and the sides and the top and bottom to stretch, or we can use the size box. And so we are going to just type in the width that we want. And so we're going to highlight in the width and we're going to type 6.5 on our keyboard. And then click somewhere outside of the box, and that changes so the width of the text is a little bit wider. And now we're going to click on the position tab. It says, or the position button, excuse me. And we're going to make the layout a little bit different. And so we're going to look for the arrange group. And we are looking for the button that says position. It says in step 3E. And we're going to click it and we're going to go down to where it says more layout options. And from here we're going to specify where we want this text box or this picture to be on our page. So it says in step 3F, in the horizontal area, select alignment, and we want it to be centered. And we want it centered relative to the margin. So that means it's going to be in the middle of both margins. And then it says in 3G, in the vertical area, select absolute, which we already have the button there selected. And then we are going to go to below to 0.2, 0.2 below page. And then we can click OK. And so our text jumped up because we gave it some specific measurements of where to go. And now the last thing we're going to do is to add an effect. So we are going to go into the section here in the middle that's called Word Art Styles. So in step 3I, it says to click the text effects button. and then to go down to reflection, and we're going to select the tight reflection touching. So we have to look for the word. So you notice if I move my mouse, it gives me a name. I'm looking for the name that's in my instructions, and it says tight reflection touching. So we choose that. So now we've modified the title to look a little bit more visually appealing. And now in step 4 is we're going to make the text down here at the bottom of our page into a table. And so we're going to select all of the text that's down here. So starting from age, all of the numbers under each of those sections. And then we're going to go to the Insert tab. So in step 4B, it tells us to click in the Insert tab, the Table button, and we're going to go down to where it says Convert Text to Table. So because we've already lined these up using tabs, the computer is going to take the tabs and turn them into columns, separate columns. And then it asks us how many columns. And so it says in step 4C, it says in the auto fit behavior area, which is this middle section, click the auto fit to contents, and then click OK to close. And so it automatically resizes the columns to fit whatever is in them. And now we're going to go to the Design tab. So it says in step 4E, click the Table Tools Design tab, and we are going to click the header row. So over here, we're going to make sure that they are, the header row and the banded rows are selected, and we're going to deselect the other boxes. And then we can go over to this 4G says to in the table styles group, so that's this section. We're going to click the more button, and we're looking for grid table 4 accent 2. So that's another style. We have to look for the name. So we have table 4 there, accent 2. It happens to be this red one in the second row with the dark colored first row. So we're going to choose that. In step 4I, it says in the second column of the first row, so that's the second part that says target heart rate. It says place the insertion point before the word zone and hit enter. Before the word zone and hit enter. And says now in step 4J, it says in the third column of the first row, place the insertion point before heart, so before the H there, and hit enter. So now we just made our table a little bit smaller by shortening up the width of the titles. Now in step 5, it says we're going to be doing some adjusting of the size and alignment of the table. And so if you look in the upper right hand corner, you have the table selector handle. It says in 5A to click it to highlight, and it basically highlights the whole table. And so now with the table highlighted, we're going to be doing some movement. So it says to click the table tool, the layout tab, and we are looking for the button now that says align center. So in the alignment group, we are looking for the align center. Okay, so that's this one in the middle of these 9 options. And now we're going to go, it says in step 5C to click the properties button. So that's all the way to the left over here. And it says to click the table tab, which is already active or already selected. And now we're going to look for the table, and we're going to align it to the center, and then click OK. And now we're going to go to the alignment section, and we're going to go to the cell margin. So this is step 5E. We're going to click on cell margins, and we're going to click where it says top and bottom. We're going to change it to 0.03. And then it says left and right, we're going to change to 0.1. So you just highlight and then type the numbers in that you want, and then we can click OK. So now we're done with the table. We've modified it. It looks the way we want. It's placed on the part of the page we want it to be. So we're on to step number 6. and we're going to be inserting something called a Smart Art graphic. A Smart Art can be used in any kind of document. It just allows you to add a graphic element. It kind of allows you to use a picture to explain something. So it says in 6A, place the insertion point at the end of example line. So we're looking for where it says example, and that's at the end of these parentheses. And it says in 6B, click the Smart Art button. So anything, remember we said we talked about adding in things to the document, all of that's on the Insert tab. So now the Smart Art is more of a picture, so it's going to be in this section called Illustrations. So you should see a button that says Smart Art. We're going to choose it, and we are going to look for a process graphic. And so we're in step 6C. All of these are just different categories. So if you wanted to show something that has steps, it's probably going to be a process. If you're just showing something in a way it's organized, then it might be list. If you want to show how things are related or connected, you might use relationship. If you don't know what kind of graphic you want, you can click all and look through all the pictures. But we're looking for a process, and in 6D it tells us we're looking for the continuous block process. So we have to cover again our mouse, and we're looking at the titles. You can kind of guesstimate by the example that you see which one it is. It's the arrow with the blocks. If you look at the example of what your document should look like finished. And then we're going to click OK. And so the default is to have 3 text boxes, but you can add more by just typing in this the editing box that pops up, and you don't even have to type in here. You can type right into these text boxes if you wanted to. So we're going to click, it says in the first placeholder, and we're going to type 220 space and then a hyphen or a minus, and then we're going to go to the next box where it says your age space and then equals, and then it says to click the last placeholder, and we're going to type in predicted maximum heart rate. Okay, and now we are done typing in the text of our Smart Art. So in step number 7, we're going to be doing some resizing and repositioning of the Smart Graphic, just like we did with the table. So it says in step 7A, click the outside frame. So before I do that, I'm going to close this editing box by clicking on this X. And now I'm going to click on the outside frame. And the reason for that is because I can select each of these individual shapes one at a time. And when I do some formatting, if you click on one of those instead of the outside box, you notice that now the little dots and the rotate are around this square here. That means all of the changes are only going to happen to this square. It's not going to modify the whole shape. So what I want to do is to put my mouse around the edge where you see the little rectangle outline. Click, and so now none of these shapes in the inside have any of those. We call them fill handles. It's only the outside of the shape, the whole shape. And then it says in the size group, so we're going to go to the Format tab, which may or not, so you have 2 options for Smart Art. You can do differences in design, which is like the background colors, and then you can do Format. So we're going to click on the Format tab, and we are going to go to the size. We're changing the height, so all the way to the right, height is going to be 1.5, and width is 2.6. And we can just click somewhere out of there to change this width. And now we're going to change the text wrapping so that we can have the words wrap around in whatever way we want. So in the Arrange section, you have this Wrap Text button. You also have it show up here. So we're going to click Wrap Text, and we're going to go to where it says Square. And then finally 7D says to click the Position button. And we want to go to the More Layout options, and we're going to give it some specific measurements. And so in the horizontal area, we're going to choose the absolute position, and we want it to be 4.5 to the right of margin instead of column. And then for vertical, we want absolute again, but this time we want it at 0.4, and we want it below margin. And then we're going to click OK. Okay, so when we did that, we moved the Smart Art, and we allowed this to kind of be in alignment with this first paragraph. So it's a graphic that's illustrating what's getting explained in these paragraphs. The last thing we're going to do is we're going to add an effect. So with the Smart Art still selected, and you know it's selected if you can still see the Design and the Format tab up here. Now we're going to go to the Design tab. We're on to step number 7H, and we are going to look for an effect. And so effects are all in this section where it says Smart Art Styles. So we're looking for the style that's labeled Intense Effect. So if you don't see it here when you hover your mouse, then you might have to click the More button. Mine happens to be on the toolbar already. So we're going to click that. And now it says to click the edge of the first text box to select it. So that's this one. So the first text box to select it, and then it says hit Control B, and that makes the 220 bold, and we're going to do the same thing to each of the others. And now it's important, as it says, to click on the edge, otherwise you're going to have to highlight the text in the middle. So we click right along the edge until you can see a solid line show up around with these little fill handles that we call. Okay. And now we're going to select the last text box and click the Format tab, it says in step 7J, and we're going to go to the Shape Fill button, which is here in the just left of the center, and we're going to go to Red Accent 2. So we're changing the color behind that last after the equal sign. So now we're done with Smart Art. Step 8 is going through inserting a clip art picture. So it says in step 8A, place the insertion point at the end of the second paragraph heading Target Heart Rate. So that's this red underlined text. And we're going to click on the Insert tab in step 8B. It's kind of walking us through that. So we're going to insert an online picture. So we are going to search the internet. Now this only works if you're connected to the internet. If you're not, you won't be able to search. So you're only going to have to be able to use the pictures that come with your program. So we are going to be searching for a picture that's of the heart rate or related to heart rate. And it says we are looking for the heart cardiogram illustration. So again, if you hover your mouse over it, it will tell you, kind of guide you. The picture, if you look at it in the sample, it looks like there's a heart and then some lines next to it. I don't see it yet on my page. So you scroll till you find it. I don't know if it's going to show up. This is what the resource was, but we want to go through the steps, so we didn't use the resource download that we had on the SimNet page. Maybe I missed it. I'm scrolling too fast and I don't see it. So it looks like a heart and then a graph with some blue waves is what I'm looking for. Let's see, I wonder if I click that. Oh, there it is. It was filtering for me. So it's this one right here with the heart and the little wavy lines. So we're going to click that and then click Insert. And now it pops up really big. We don't want it that big. So we're going to do some modifying of the size. So we're going to change the height, and what you're going to notice is anytime you use a graphic tool, the toolbar under the format and design look very similar. So format is where you would go to change the size and the positioning and the alignment. And then if you want to change things like backgrounds and shapes, then you would go to the design tab. With pictures, we don't have a design tab because we can't really change the colors of the pictures. It's not a photo editing program. So for this picture, the other thing that's unique about pictures is that when you change the size here in the size boxes, it is going to lock the aspect ratio, which means it's not going to allow you to make the picture wider than it is tall, so it distorts the original. So if we change one of those numbers, the other number will automatically change. So in step 8E, it tells us to change the height. So we're going to change the height to 1 and hit enter, and it automatically changes the width so that the picture stays in proportion. And now we're going to change the text wrapping. In step 8F, it tells us to select tight. So we're going to go to the wrap text button and choose tight. And then we're going to go to the clip art itself. And now rather than using the position option we did with the smart art in the table, we're just going to click and drag the picture. And it says to place it approximately 1/2 inch from the edge or right edge of the document. And it says to actually move it to the right edge of the basically we're just moving it all the way over like this. And you can kind of look at the sample to see if it's in the right spot. It's about there. Okay, so we've inserted and modified a picture now. And so we're going to do some formatting of the picture. One of the nice things about Office 2013 is you have a lot of tools to make your pictures, even though they're very simple like this one we inserted from the clip art, to make them look like you spent a lot of time editing them. And so in step 9, we're going to be doing some formatting and inserting a caption. So it says with the clip art selected, we're going to go to the picture styles, which is this, a lot of options about adding borders and shadows. And it says we're going to click the more button, and we are looking for the picture tool that's called bevel rectangle. So it's this one with the curved edges. So we're going to choose that, and then we're going to go to the clip art, and now we're going to use our mouse to pull up the shortcut menu for the picture. So we're going to put our mouse over the picture, and we're going to right click, and we're going to go down to where it says insert caption, and we are going to type in the words and then we're going to press enter. We're not going to do anything there. We are moving on now to step 9E. It says to select the text, so that's this, and we want to go to the text fill button. So we're going to go up to the drawing tools in the format, and we are going to select the shape fill. Oh, sorry, text fill, excuse me. We're going to go to text fill, and we're going to choose the color red accent 2. We're going to actually type in, instead of figure 1, we're going to type know your target heart rate. And then in the size group, so we're going to change the size of the text box. We're going to change the height to 0.2, and we're going to change the width to 1.5. So I was just doing steps number 9E, F, and G. Now we're on to step 9.8. It says to press the control key and click the clip art, and then it says now the clip art and the caption should both be selected. So when you want to select more than one thing, which is what you need to do to align objects, you have to use the control or the shift key to select more than one object at a time. And so in 9I, it tells us to click the align button, which is in the, excuse me, it's in the picture tools format tab. Oh no, drawing tools again. So with both of those objects selected, we can do some aligning. So arrange is where we went when we wanted to move things on the page, if we wanted to position it at a certain place or change the text wrapping so that the text wrapped around the object. So up at the upper right hand corner of that group, you have a button that says Align. So we're going to click that and we're going to go down to Align Center. So that lines the picture and the text box up so that they're centered with each other. And now we're going to go to the Group button, which is right below Align, and we're going to turn it into one object. So we're going to click the button and we're going to choose Group. So now, rather than it being a picture and a text box, it becomes one thing, and we can move it together, we can resize it together. And so it says, now that we have it grouped, it says to drag it in step 9K, so it's about a ½ inch from the right edge, which it should already be. And so you can look at the example and see if you got it to where you want it. Actually, I have to move it up a little bit so that it looks the same spot as it is in the sample. And now we are pretty much done. So if you just double check and make sure everything looks the way it's supposed to in the example, and then we can click Save, and we are finished. So I'm going to go back to my SimNet. I'm going to click Upload and Save. I'm going to look for my file in my Documents folder and then click Open. Takes a few minutes and then yes. And so we are finished.